Welcome to the Dave Palma Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Palma.
Hi, welcome back to the Dave Palma Show. And in this episode, I have the founder and CEO at Wise Profits. He went through some hard times in prison, which is where he learned about the importance of love and resilience. Chris Wise, welcome to the Dave Palma Show.
Thanks, Dave. Great to be here.
Great to have you here, Chris. Great to have you here. And always inspired by stories like this where people are obviously in a place where they don't want to be. And, I certainly had a few guests on the show, with yourself, who's done an amazing job of turning around in life and learning stuff, obviously. And, when they've got kind of a space to do so, obviously not the space I needed to, and done well in their life. So I'd like to find out about your story, how you got to where you are now, and really your humble beginnings before you ended up in that place, really. So tell us the story, really, from your humble beginnings and the journey to...
Yeah, well, I was a strong-willed firstborn child, average middle-class American families in Maryland.
Yeah.
And, when I wanted something, I heard we can't afford it. And I hated hearing that. And so I was like, okay, how can I figure out how to get the things that I wanted? And fortunately, I had supportive parents who started showing me different ways that I could make money.
Yeah.
And so I started my first business at the age of 12, sharpening chainsaw chains, and very quickly was making $25 an hour. And from that, I was able to buy my first computer at 14, buy my first car at 16.
Yeah.
And then I started my first computer company
Wow.
when I was 16. And from that, I was able to buy my first house at 19, was a millionaire by 21.
Whoa.
So just
Well,
very driven. Was very, A-type personality. And then as I continued to grow and develop, I had several ups and downs. So while I had hit a millionaire, then there was a crash that happened where I lost everything. It was kind of started back to zero. And then throughout my mid-20s, was able to then sell my second company in my mid-20s. And it was around this time, it was actually in my... When I was 18, I started learning about personal development. And so I started on this personal development path and reading books and just like, how do I become a better person? Because I realized that that was a key to success and having the things that I wanted.
Yeah.
Throughout my late 20s, that shifted more into a spiritual journey and really learning about how to get into my heart and learning about surrender and learning about the nature of my spirit and different things like that. And so while my personal growth and spiritual growth were continuing, I started so had several other businesses throughout this time, and I reached the point in my early 30s where I was running 3 different companies, all virtually. Yeah. I was traveling the world. I had a beautiful Colombian girlfriend by my side, and had my life down to 2 suitcases, so I didn't have stuff. I felt very free, very light.
Okay. When you say your life down to 2 suitcases, you saying metaphorically, or you actually literally had 2 suitcases?
I had 2 suitcases. Now I still had a storage unit, like where I kept like memories and things.
Okay, yeah. Oh, you're traveling around with 2 suitcases.
Traveling around, and I was location independent.
Yes.
And I love that. And that's, so I had built this incredible life where I had so much freedom, doing well financially, had a path for that can continue to accelerate. And that's really, what set the stage for what happened next.
Whoa, okay. So it sounds like you had a really great life and obviously built a dream life, really. Colombian girlfriend by your side. I'll probably ask later on what happened to her.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So, so we had this 6-month world tour planned out. And we were flying from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico into Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And as the plane's landing in Los Angeles and taxiing to the gate, all of a sudden the plane stops. Not in the usual place that it's supposed to stop. And over the loudspeaker, I heard, welcome everybody, this is your captain speaking. We're going to be stopped here momentarily on the tarmac. Customs needs to come on board.
Oh, wow.
And I'm in the back of the plane. I'm on my phone and doing a post to Facebook. And I'm like, I'm so excited to be back in the United States. I'm going to the Melting Pot tonight, my favorite restaurant.
Yeah.
And little did I know that was going to be my last Facebook post for 19 months.
Whoa. Okay.
And I look up, I see this big black guy walking down the aisle, and he stops next to my chair. And he goes, Christopher Wise? And I look up, and I'm like, yeah. And he goes, you're under arrest.
Whoa.
They stand me up.
What year was this?
Just
out of interest.
This is 2013.
Yeah, okay, yeah. You might have mentioned it earlier. Okay,
And he's like, you're under arrest. And so they handcuff me and walk me off the plane. And everybody's looking at me like I'm a terrorist. And in my mind, I'm like, what the hell is going on? What did I do? They got to have the wrong Christopher Wise, because I couldn't think of anything that I had done to cause this.
Yeah.
They're not telling me why I'm being arrested. And eventually they hand me off to the Secret Service. Now I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I mean, this is the Secret Service. This is who handles security for the president. Like, what? Oh my God. I swear I support Obamacare, like what's...
Yeah.
And finally, as they're transferring me over to be processed at the Secret Service Center, they mention two names. And because I'm like, tell me, why am I being charged? And they mention two names. And I recognize these two names to be two people who 4 years before, in 2009, I had hired to help me get a loan for my business.
Right.
Now, come to find out, later they told me what I was being charged with. I was being charged with conspiracy for bank fraud. Now, this was a big business, a very tough business lesson for me. When I had hired this company, I did tons of due diligence research on them. They seemed to be legit. They were providing a real service. And I was actually, at the time, I also had I was helping people get funding for business, but these guys were doing it on another level. And so I started referring people to them. And then I also went to get my own loan myself. And when I was going through the loan process, I realized that they were doing some shady things. And I thought, well, they're doing it. I'm going to use the money for legal purposes. I'm going to pay the money back. And that was my mistake, because I benefited from the crime of another. And even though I was ignorant that was illegal, it didn't matter. You still are guilty, whether you know it's illegal or not.
Yeah, it's weird how the law works out that way, doesn't it? I mean, it's the same in the UK. It's like the accessory to the crime, even though you weren't really aware of this person. It happened to me when I was a kid. Someone stole a bike from a school and I was with them, and it was like, well, you're with the person. I was like, well, I didn't know. And things like that. Yeah, but anyway, let's get back to your story.
Yeah, and so it was from a business lesson, it was a very tough lesson in conspiracy. But what that did was it set up the stage for me to have this incredible transformational experience in prison.
Right.
Because prior
Can I just ask before?
Sure.
Yeah, before this transformation, I mean, obviously, what was going through your head with this wonderful life you had and getting ready for this 6-month tour with your girlfriend and these business opportunities, and all of a sudden it's thrown away? Because I would have been gutted.
It was devastating.
Yeah, devastating.
It was
with a capital D.
like completely and utterly. So from somebody who likes to be in control, finding himself in a place where he has no control. And my life is falling apart on the outside, and there isn't anything I can do about it.
That's right, yeah.
Losing my reputation, losing friends, eventually end up losing the love of my life that was with me. It was soul crushing, and every day I felt like a piece of me was dying.
Yeah.
But this is really where the opportunity came, because I had done enough work prior to prison, personal development and spiritual work. I had the right tools to make prison the transformational experience it was meant to be for me.
Right, that makes sense now.
Because I don't, from a spiritual perspective, it just felt so unfair from just a human perspective, it felt very unfair of me having to be in prison for this thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And, but one of the biggest lessons that came from that was is that life is far too perfect to be fair.
Right.
And here's what that means, is that the times where I feel like I'm being treated unfairly, there is a level of perfection that life is trying to bring to my life, of learning lessons and experiences and of places for me to love and embrace myself in the unfairness or in the injustice that I'm facing. And there was many injustices that I faced in prison. Like, prison is a very unjust way of being, they treat humans in a very inhumane and unjust way in prison.
Right.
And all of those became opportunities for me to more deeply love and embrace myself and heal things that I may have not gotten the opportunity on the outside to love and embrace. From a spiritual perspective, I had a very strong ego. I had an ego that my position was, I cannot be defeated.
Yeah.
And when I was growing up, one time my parents were trying to tell me what to do. This was like when I was 14. I was like, look, I sat my parents down. I said, look, I'm going to do what I want. And look, you can just make it easier on yourself and let me do what I want, because if not, it's going to be hell for you. So why don't you just let me do what I want? And it was an all-out war through my teenage years, but I came out on the other side, never having really submitted my will to a higher authority. Now, not knowing really how to surrender. So there's something about letting go or surrendering to an authority that enables you to surrender into the universe. Because from one perspective, the universe is a higher authority, or God is a higher authority. And I had this strong will, like, I am not going to be defeated. I'm going to do what I want. And when I was in prison, I was faced with an opponent that I could not defeat, and that's the United States government. They will fuck you up. They have so much power. You can have all the money in the world, but they have more money than you. And if you're going up against them, it's a very tough opponent to win against.
And I mean, the kind of thing you're talking about is probably not as bad as what I'm going to mention, but obviously you're looking at Assange now, who's trying to stop the extradition from Australia and whatever, to go to Australia from the UK rather than go to the US for spying charges.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of stuff like that. And the US is like that. They're renowned for that kind of thing. And the FBI tends to interfere with international kind of crimes as well, so that is quite serious. Authority, that is a serious authority.
Yep. And I saw that my best way through this was to not try to fight, because I didn't have the money available to, there was going to be $100,000. I didn't have the $100,000 available to hire a real attorney, so I went with a public defender.
Yes.
And those guys are just paper pushers,
Exactly.
So
they'll just get paid for the hours they do, and then after that they can't do much, can they?
Yeah, they're not the best attorneys to begin with in general.
Yeah.
And I also wasn't able to get bail because I had been traveling internationally. So I was stuck in prison with a less than great attorney. And I realized that my quickest way through this pain I was facing was to do a plea deal, was to surrender in an energetic sense to this opponent that I couldn't defeat.
Yeah.
And what that actually did for me from a internal level was it gave me an understanding of what it really meant to surrender to the universe, to allow letting go, right? So I'd say surrender is another way of saying letting go.
Yes, yeah.
But it's not easy to surrender or let go, especially for people who are A-types, strong-willed, out to accomplish, have big goals and dreams, because you're like, nothing's going to get in my way. I'm going to make this happen, regardless of whatever comes my way.
Yeah, which is not a bad thing, really.
No, that's half. Like, that's a good. That's a masculine.
Yeah.
That's the masculine energy. It's very good, right?
Yeah.
But we also want to have access to the other side, the feminine energy of letting go and surrender, because what I realized is, like, I'm not in control. Because prior to prison, I thought I was in control. But now I'm in a situation I can't get out of, I can't escape, I had no idea what was going to happen. It just, out of the blue, my life from this perfect dream life to completely shit, out of control, nothing's the way I wanted, same food every day, losing my business, losing my friends, losing my reputation, losing the love of my life, deep despair and pain and toil and hardship. I had no control. I had and I couldn't get out of it. I couldn't leave. I didn't have the money to fight it. And so what I realized is like, oh, I'm not actually in control of my life like I thought I was, obviously by my circumstances. And so it was a very, but in order for me to really step into that, and there was a space of okayness that I found in being out of control. But the only way I was able to get into the space where I felt at one with the prison system, where I found oneness inside, was through surrendering and letting go. Yeah. And what enabled me to let go and fully be with the amount of emotion that I was feeling and the circumstances at hand that I couldn't get out of was through very deeply loving and embracing my inner self or my inner child.
Yeah.
And it was through loving the one who had fear, loving the one who had sadness and loneliness and boredom. And I would say I would have a dialogue, because I had already done inner child work prior to prison, so I already had this connection with my inner self.
Yeah.
But I learned these words to say, and it was, for example, when I was there, so much fear. I felt so much fear in prison, because fear is such a violent place.
Oh, well, I wouldn't have liked to have been in that situation, honestly.
And the threat of violence is always present. I mean, you sit in the wrong chair, you look at somebody wrong. I mean, it's just like the most ridiculous things.
Yeah.
And people don't talk through things in prison. It's just like you fight first, then maybe you talk.
Yeah.
And so I was feeling so much fear. And so to help me be okay with feeling fear and to feel safe with feeling fear, I would say, I was in my room, I'd meditate, and then I would say this thing to my inner self. I'd say, to the one who's feeling fear, I love you.
Yeah.
To the one who's feeling fear, I love you. And I would just say that over and over, bringing attention to this part of myself.
Like a mantra.
Well, like a mantra, but not a mantra. Not an affirmation either. I want to make a distinction between what I'm doing and a mantra and an affirmation and what I'm doing here.
Okay.
Think about this as a relationship that you would create with another human or a child. Mm-hmm. And you're just telling this child over and over, I love you. I love you. You are actually giving love.
Yeah.
So it's not affirming, it could be, but the thing I don't like about affirmations is I feel like a lot of times we're saying it to ourselves, but we're like, that's bullshit. I don't believe that. Or you have to, so I don't like to think about it as an affirmation, because I wouldn't see if I told a child I love them, that's not an affirmation. That's me just loving them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so this is just an act of love towards myself. And I would just say, to the one who's feeling sadness, I love you. I mean, I cried probably every day. And I learned how to cry silently because I had a cellie, a roommate. They call them cellies. And so I didn't want to hear him to hear me crying. So I learned how to, I was just like, with my, this emotion just coming out of me without making a sound. And, but then I would just love the one, just so much less. I love you. And then I would also do, I accept you. And it was through this way of me very deeply loving and embracing these aspects of myself that eventually I felt at peace with all that was happening and all that was going on. I mean, all that was going on, and what was falling around, my life falling around outside of me. Yeah. Now, I didn't like it. I want to make a distinction. I didn't like it. I didn't want to be there. It still didn't feel good, but I wouldn't have continued to choose it. But I found a place of peace. I found a place of oneness. I found a place of internal happiness on a very fundamental level, that in these circumstances that were just horrible. And that was probably that journey in me recreating my relationship with my emotions. And I want to go a little bit more into what that meant, was one of the biggest gifts that prison was for me.
Yeah. Wow. So that how long did that transformation take? What you described there.
I mean, it was the whole. I mean, well, to really hit that oneness, probably nine months before I felt at oneness with everything. But it was constant. Like prison was a consciousness pressure cooker.
Yeah.
The other thing I realized, I knew I was there for my highest transformation and evolution. Like, it wasn't just. Like I actively engaged in the process of this because I knew that this was for my highest good. And I also, at the very beginning, set the intention because I could feel the amount of emotional trauma that was occurring. And I said, I want to love myself sufficiently and deeply enough every day so that when I get out, I won't have PTSD. I won't have all of this unresolved emotional baggage that I then carry forward. So I was so conscious that every day, because stuff happened every day there was things happening that were painful and fearful and like, am I going to get in a fight? Is this guy going to come start something with me? Am I going to, prison is so stressful. It just, how it just is. But I just loved myself and was feeling through all of that so it wouldn't build up into PTSD. I was very conscious about that.
Yeah, no, it's quite interesting. So let's look at now the switch you had when you more or less probably had this transformation and then now, kind of got back to life outside and got to where you are now. So carrying the story from there, because obviously this obviously helped you to get back to where you are now, because you basically probably had nothing when you got out of prison.
Well, I had sold my company, so I actually had some money. So I sold my second business. The business I had, I sold to my employees, so I had some money from that. So I wasn't, money was never an issue. I didn't have $100,000 to hire an attorney. I still had enough. I didn't have to worry about money when I got out because I had some.
Yeah. And
so it was nice to have a vacation from prison when I got out. Like for 3 months, I just really didn't do anything. I just was just like, I'm just so happy to lay in a bed and watch TV and have a pillow. I didn't have, have pillows. There's no pillows
really?
Where we were.
Okay.
Very uncomfortable. You had to use a shirt to kind of prop your head up.
Yeah.
So it's just so great to be out, walk in nature, just go to a restaurant. So I took kind of 3 months to kind of decompress. But I had so many insights and so many learning lessons from prison that after when I got out of prison, I just began to integrate those into now that I know who myself is as consciousness and as love, which was one of the insights, probably one of the greatest, it was my reaching that first level of enlightenment where I realized myself as consciousness and as love through a very deep and painful surrender process of letting go everything that I was attached to and that my identity was built around, which, by the way, I feel like I had to go through an environment like prison to crack me open to that level of depth, which is why on a spiritual level I actually experienced that. But after I hit that kind of 0 point of realization of myself as consciousness, and I had let go. To get to that point, I actually had surrendered my goals and my dreams. I had let go of my goals and my dreams, which had always defined me and always given me purpose and vision. Yeah. And then about a week after I hit this ground zero point, I felt like I was this dying man in the desert and just like, I just need water. And then my intuition was like, okay, bring back in your goals, hopes, and dreams. And I invited them back in. And then I had this realization. I said, I am going to, from this place of now that I know who I really am, I'm going to pursue the life of my wildest dreams, but I'm going to do it from a place of being kind and loving towards myself. And so that was one of the biggest distinctions now in how I'm living life that got hit there in prison. And then from rebuilding my life, that is, does it feel good to me inside? Now, to make a distinction around that, there's still things I do that are uncomfortable, like pushing myself hard in the gym or, pushing the time that I need in business, right? So there's a distinction between working hard, we can just frame all of that into working hard, and is this actually healthy for me to do on a emotional, mental, and physical level. And that I use my internal compass to make that distinction, where in the past, I was hard on myself. I would talk to myself mean. I was like, that's not good enough. You're not doing it right. You need to do it faster. You needed to do it better. Like, there was this demanding, harsh voice in how I talked to myself. And that voice got dissolved. And when I would notice after this turning point, when I noticed it would come up, I would just love the one who was talking. I'd love the part of myself that was talking mean to myself, and I'd love the one part of myself that was getting talked mean to. And so I just embraced all of these aspects of myself with love. And eventually what happened outside of prison was that eventually I felt like, so I saw it as my ego. My ego was the one that was this demanding, the critic, this one that was beating myself up. I saw that as a function of my ego, because my ego, the ego, I believe the ego is here to serve us. It's here to help us. It's here to help us get what we want and to survive. But most of us are, most of us are egos operating from this place of there's still unloved and unresolved aspects of self. And so there's an overreaction to how the ego's relating to oneself. And so after I got out of prison, there was this integration that occurred of my ego, my inner self, and my higher self, where I was like, holy shit, I now feel like I am one. There's no longer different voices occurring in my mind. Like, I feel like I am one. But I didn't, that came from after I had realized myself as consciousness. And then it was a few years later, continuing to do the work, continuing to do all this stuff, that I felt like I was fully integrated as one in myself. And the growth and the learning just still continues to occur, post prison. Now, how this is actually showing up in the business world. So one, I talk to myself and I treat myself very differently, but it has taken me some time to figure out how to bring that forward in a real and practical way. Because the first year that I got out, I was this surrendered, living in my heart. And I was like, okay, universe, I've surrendered, I've let go. Now I'm ready to receive all that I desire. And that first year I lived life that way. And I got to the end of the year and I looked back, okay, what did I accomplish over these last 9 months since I've been out of prison? And it was nothing. It was very little. And I said, I want to accomplish. And so I was like, oh, I actually, all that stuff I learned in the past, that taking action and that masculine drive, I still need that. So let me invite that back in, because I had let all of that go because I thought that was the problem of why I was so hard on myself. Right. But it wasn't, though. Taking action and drive and accomplishment, those things aren't the problem. It's do we have unloved and unresolved aspects of ourselves that then create that into an unhealthy way? And so I was like, now that I'm healthy in this way, how do I take powerful action now from a place of being surrendered and loving to myself? And so it took me several years to really kind of figure out that right vibe. And it's really what's happening. It's an integration of masculine and feminine energies. And so what happened to me
yin and yang, it's kind of
Yep. Yeah. So it took me about 3 years after getting out of prison to really fully, deeply integrate the masculine and feminine energies, to now I don't even feel like I make distinctions in having, I don't even have to think about that now anymore.
It's not automated.
I'm fully embodied of the masculine and feminine. And so I'm completely and utterly surrendered, and I'm fucking taking action, and I'm out to accomplish and bring forward all that I desire at the same time.
Yeah. That's great. So where are you at now then, Chris? I mean, with all this that went on then 3 years now on from this, tell us about your success now and how you can share it with all the audience and listeners.
Yeah. So I combined those two of the companies I had. I combined them into one, and so now what I do is I help companies grow and scale. And my master skill is organization. I can go inside and I can see all the different problems that are happening inside of a company. Why somebody feels stuck and they can't keep getting over this hump, or why somebody's having all this growth but they feel overwhelmed. Right. So two of the feelings that I work with, the CEOs I work with of companies that are typically in the 1 to 10 million revenue range, they either feel overwhelmed or stuck.
Yes.
And so a lot of that is just with how they are, the systems and the structures that they have inside their business are not properly aligned, or they're missing.
Yeah.
And when they have that, when myself and my team come in and put all of that in place, they just begin to really accelerate in a healthy way. So let's say somebody's stuck, we help them get unstuck and start having, good growth. Or if somebody's already having good growth, sometimes you got to slow down the speed up. Like sometimes people can actually grow
Take a step
fast.
back.
Yep. So it's like, hey, we actually need to put this in place. Or if not, if we don't do this right now, you're going to fail in the future. And I can see those things.
Yeah. And this is down to your experience. You can, what you had, you can actually install that and say, look, I can see this coming now, really a culmination of your whole experience, really,
yes.
Not just what happened in prison, but before that even, and you experienced with business, because that's what you was all your life, an entrepreneur.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, over my life, I have sold 2 companies. I've coached and consulted with hundreds of different CEOs and business leaders in a wide variety of industries. Now we have niched into the SaaS industry, so we have a very strong program for SaaS companies, but we there's other industries we work with.
Yeah. What's SaaS, by the way, just as anyone that is listening that don't understand what it is?
Yeah, so software as a service. So anytime.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Well, that's huge. It's tech. It's all during these tech. COVID times. It probably didn't get hit as bad as other companies that are brick and mortar. So that's pretty good. That's great. So what could you share with our audience today, and especially with the work you're doing as well, what they can get out of the experience that you had, especially obviously, the times that really went down for you and you building that resilience up?
Yeah. Well, I would say the best way to contact me is through my website. It's wiseprofits.net. It'll explain more about the services that we do for companies who really want to grow and scale, but also doing it from a healthy place, right? So that's a thing that makes us unique as management consultants, is that we use love as part of our formula. We use LQ, love quotient, raising somebody's love quotient.
Right.
And so for companies who want to grow and scale in a healthy way, we're open. I'm open to having a conversation. And so it's wiseprofits.net. There's a contact form on there. You can learn more about what we do. And
That's great, Chris. Well, it's great, fantastic. I really enjoyed listening to your story, and as I say, I'm a resilience and overcoming adversity junkie now, because I go through my own stuff and still am, and still growing as well. So it's really great that you've come on the show and shared this with my audience today. Thanks very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Dave.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts, or head over to my website, davepalmer.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Palmer Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.